I have 2 children. I have one boy, his name is Austin. He's 7 years old. And I have a daughter, Alexis, and she is 9 years old. In school, I was pretty much a girly girl. And really I wasn't really involved in anything except for like the prom committee, things like that, all the girly girl stuff. When my mom first heard about it, me joining the Army, she was like, "You're crazy, you do not need to do that, you got your kids, you need to stay here with them." And I'm like, "Mom, I gotta do what's right, I gotta do something, I gotta take care of my family." I went into military police because I wanted to actually become an FBI agent afterwards. So I had this whole big plan, go serve for the 5 years, take some school while I was in there, and maybe go CID. Guess that was another plan, what I was going to do when I got back from Afghanistan. And after that, try the FBI. Before I was deployed, I was on active duty 8 months, and then I served 10 months in Afghanistan. So it's like 18 months. I was stationed in Afghanistan in Logar province, which is probably like an hour from Kabul. The day I was injured, I had actually gotten back from leave from R&R. And like 2 days later, they asked me to volunteer for a mission, and I accepted as the gunner. And it was a good morning. It was a peaceful morning. Believe it or not, Afghanistan has some really pretty scenery, and the snow was already coming down, and I felt really great that morning. I had a lot of motivation, I guess, because I was back with my unit. And I was happy to actually go back out again. It was one of our last missions to that area. So we headed out. I was the first truck we were to lead. And about 30 minutes into the mission, all I remember is actually getting cold because the snow had started falling down really fast. And I was fixing my neck gaiter up, and that's the only thing I remember. Oh, and also remember that my driver was shifting into gear before he went up the mountain. My truck hit 2 landmines that were buried up under the road, which were very hard to see because we were on the rough terrain. The mud, it was muddy that day, it was snowing, but we hit 2 landmines, pressure plate. My driver actually lived for like 3 minutes. He pretty much bled out. And then after he perished, they said I started screaming because I was pinned underneath the truck. And so they came to me and, done medical aid. My team leader, Staff Sergeant Shank, actually perished upon contact, I guess, right away. And then the interpreter walked away. I think he had a broken arm, some burns, but he walked away. In the truck, I was the gunner in my lead truck. Had the 50 cal, which I really liked. I was standing up. I never sit down because you can't really get any kind of good security when you're sitting down in your truck. So I always made a point to stand up. And I think if I had been sitting down in that truck that day, I wouldn't be here. The gunner's shield was actually on top of my legs, holding me down in the truck. Actually, I was pinned up under. And then when I started screaming, the people in the truck behind us actually came over and tried to pull me out. And they actually had to try to lift the truck up a little just to get me out without any other injuries. And then they say I was awake during that whole thing, which I do not recall any of it. I was very combative. I was jerking the IVs out of my arm. I wanted to get up, and of course I couldn't stand up. And they were just administering, the morphine, trying to get me to calm down. Called the medevac in. They refused the medevac because we were in the mountains and the snow was coming down pretty hard. It was a blizzard pretty much by then. So they would not send medevac out. And I stayed there for 4 hours actually waiting on a medevac. And another 6-hour-long convoy to a Greek hospital. They had to stop because I was bleeding a lot and had a lot of internal injuries. So they actually stopped at a NATO hospital, and they fixed the lacerations that I had in my liver and the intestines. And after that, they headed on toward Bagram, and they had to stop at a French hospital, NATO, because I was losing all my blood. I had no blood. And so there they got some blood to actually give me, but it was the wrong blood type. I'm O negative. They gave me O positive. The medic in charge that day actually made that decision, so he could keep my body warm. Because either way, he said I could have died, but he wanted to at least keep my body warm enough till we got to Bagram. When I got off the bus at Walter Reed, when I first arrived there, I looked up and saw my husband because he was outside waiting for me, and I smiled just knowing he was there. Then I went to the ICU room. My mom, my stepdad was there. I was so happy that people were there. And ever so often, while I was coming in and out for those next few weeks, I'd always look up just to make sure someone's in the room, and that made me feel better. And then when I saw my kids, that really did it. The hardest thing for me to do was breathe, because I had the internal injuries on my chest, and my chest felt like it had like 1,000 tons on it. So I had to fight to breathe every day. That was one of the hardest things. And then in March, they got me up for the first time on my prosthetics. And so ever since March, I've had a surgery all the way up, every month up until January of this year. So I kept getting setbacks every time. And ever since January 22nd, I've been cleared. Everything looks normal again, finally, on the inside. And they decided to go ahead and fit me for the prosthetic coverings. My daughter, at first, took it hard because she's older and she understands a little bit more. My son was like, is mommy alive? That's all he cares about. And he calls my legs the robot legs. And he's fine. As long as I can get up and move around, he's good. All the other vets, sometimes they don't understand what a dog can do for them. She can do so much. She turns your lights off and on so you don't have to get up out of bed and put your prosthetics back on. She'll do it for you. She'll retrieve things for you. If you leave them in the same place, she'll always bring them to you if you ask her to. She's really good for stress. The days I feel awful, I have her. And for some reason, she always makes me laugh. So they're really good stress relievers also. And I actually donated some money to name a dog after the guys that were in my truck. Their first names were Michael and Jeffrey. So I sponsored a dog, and we named him MJ. And I'm hoping he goes to a veteran. The prosthetic coverings that they offer you at Walter Reed are really great because you can wear your capris. This is what you see. At least when you have your cosmetic coverings on, you'll see some kind of flesh, But they set you down with the artist. There's like 3 guys that come in twice a month there, and they set you down. They match your colors of your skin. They'll color in your veins. They look really real. And they'll French manicure your toenails to where they look really, real. And I had a birthmark on my ankle that I want to be put back. I am normally a very quiet person, which, you would never think that I'd done the things that I did, or, I could fight the way I can. And I knew I had something to live for. So I think having my children, I think that really is what, kept me alive, kept me fighting. Being in the military, doing my everyday duties, has taught me to be strong-minded. And you have to be strong-minded to get through anything, because it's all mental. You can get past that, you're good. The physical part wasn't hard for me, but the mental part is the hardest thing you can go through, really, if you let it bother you. When I joined the Army, and I signed that dotted line, I knew I was going to be deployed. And I don't regret any of it. I met some amazing people. Those people are still in my life, and I'll have friends forever, and I would not change a thing about it. I don't regret anything at all. My bracelet, one of my friends got it for me while I was in the hospital, has the pictures of the guys that I lost on it. And it says, in loving memory of Staff Sergeant Michael Shank and Corporal Jay Roberson, 230th Infantry Company, Black Sheep.